Before I became a full-time chef, I really struggled cooking healthy and nutritious food. To be honest, I found the whole process tedious and daunting. It was also quite expensive. I'd find myself looking online for recipes, I'd give them a go, and in the process I'd just create a mountain of washing up. And by the end of it, whatever I made wasn't actually that tasty and probably not even that nutritious. But there is hope. What I'm going to share with you guys in this video is everything I wish I knew about cooking back when I was a student and back when I started lifting. And there are 4 key elements I think in order to cook well. And that is seasoning, spices, simplicity, and just fresh food. Keep it simple and keep it tasty. There's no need to overcomplicate it. So let's get into it, and I'll go through what I cook for a week. I'm very busy, I work full-time as a chef, 12-hour days. I want something quick, healthy, nutritious, and easy, so let's give it a go. The first thing we're gonna cook is a chicken. This bad boy weighs 2 kilos, and it costs £5, so it's cheap. You could buy chicken breast separately, but it does add up a fair bit. This is a good way to do it. We're gonna roast the whole thing on the bone. You get a nice flavor roasting on the bone, and we're gonna use the bones for a noodle broth later. We're gonna keep it super simple. We're gonna preset the oven to 200 degrees. It's gonna take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours to cook. So let's get stuck in. The first thing I'm going to do is put some citrus in the Jaxie. This is a bit of a Jamie Oliver method that I found, and it just helps keep the chicken nice and moist. You could use an orange, you could use a lemon, basically anything you've got to hand. Chicken and orange goes nicely, so we're going to use this. We're simply just going to, oh, hello. We're simply just going to cut it in half, pop her in. Pop it in there for later. Actually not for later, because we're not going to do anything with it. Not sure why I said that. No one wants oranges from the chicken bumhole. And then we're gonna season it nicely over the top. Lots of salt. Bit of olive oil. Give it a little bit of a rub, get all the salt in, all over it. Make sure those oranges are right in there. Gotta be firm with the chicken. Show it who's boss. Chuck that all in there. Get it all nice. And that's it, that's our chicken ready to go. Lightly seasoned with a bit of olive oil and salt with a bit of citrus in the Jaxie. Like I said, it's gonna keep it nice and moist. We're gonna pop that in the oven for about 1.5 hours, and then we're gonna check it. It may need an extra half an hour, but we don't want to overcook it, otherwise you'll get dry chicken. The aim of the game with the meal prep is to do everything in order. So we're gonna start with the thing that takes the longest, so that's the chicken, because that's gonna take about 2 hours. The next thing we're gonna cook is our big slab of beef. So I've got a lovely bit of top rump, if I can grab onto it, lovely bit of top rump here, which is 1.3 kilos, and that's gonna give me 7 170 gram portions, which is perfect for my macros during the week. And even if each portion is a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, throughout the week it's gonna even out, because I'm gonna have a bit for lunch and a bit for dinner, so perfect. Start off with just a bit of salt. Heavily season, and then just a bit over this side. And then with this one, I've got like a smoky chipotle rub, which is gonna go delicious, because I'm gonna turn this one into like a sweet potato hash, and I'm gonna use it for beef salad. So this is gonna give it a lovely sort of depth of flavor with a bit of spice and a nice bit of color. So I'm gonna use quite a lot of this. And we're just gonna marinate it into it, give it a good old rub down with a little bit of olive oil. Just want to make sure you get it all around. So at the moment I've got the chicken on the top shelf, which is going to take between 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Then this lovely bit of top rump I'm going to put on the shelf below. We don't want it to get maximum heat, we want it to cook a little bit slower, and we still want to serve this pink. So we want to get a nice sort of medium rare to medium, especially with rump. We don't want it too pink, it's going to be a bit chewy. So medium rare to medium is great. So we're gonna pop this second shelf down for about an hour, and then we're just gonna have a look, see what it's at temperature-wise, and then if we're sort of at about 50, 55 degrees, we'll pull it out, let it rest, and then that'll be done. So pop this in the oven now. Goodbye beef. The next job whilst everything is cooking is to cook some orzo, which is basically tiny little pasta. So we're gonna do 400 grams and we're gonna boil that for about 10 to 12 minutes until cooked. And then whilst that's cooking, we're gonna chop up a load of med veg. And then when that's all cooked, we're gonna combine that together to make a lovely little wicked tomatoey Mediterranean vegetable orzo. And we can either stick a bit of beef on it or a bit of chicken on it. So we've got sort of options there. It's important to weigh everything so we know where we are in terms of macros. So if I do 100 grams as a portion, times that by 4, that's gonna give me 4 different meals, and I'll know exactly where I am. There'll be a breakdown of sort of the macros and the calories and the protein in everything down below, as well as a shopping list and a bit of a cheat sheet in case you guys wanna create any of this. So that's what we've got. 400 grams of orzo and enough water by a couple of inches just to cover it, and that's gonna take about 10 to 12 minutes to cook. Whilst that's cooking, we're gonna prep all the med veg, stick that in the oven whilst the oven's on. So we're trying to utilize our time as much as possible. So whilst things are cooking, we can get other things ready. We can pop a tray of veg just to roast on the bottom. That's not gonna take very long. And this is what we're gonna do for our roasted Mediterranean veg. So we've got courgettes, tomatoes, a bit of celery, a carrot, some red onions, mixed peppers, and an aubergine. We're just gonna cut this up a little bit rustic. We're not gonna spend too much time on it. Then we're just gonna, a little bit of olive oil, a few herbs, bang that in the bottom of the oven. It's probably gonna take about 15 minutes. We don't wanna overcook it because we don't want it to go mushy. So that's our Mediterranean veg. We want everything to be roughly about the same size so it all cooks fairly evenly. Just gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil, get a bit of seasoning, a few spices, a few herbs on there. Keep it nice and simple. Garlic, parsley, and red chili. A little bit of that on there. A little bit of spice. Then this is ready, pop that in the oven, 15, 20 minutes. Like I said, we don't want to overcook it because we don't want it to be too mushy. And that's gonna be a lovely accompaniment. That's going to be a lovely accompaniment for our orzo. That's the orzo done. We're gonna drain that and then just run it under cold water. The cold water is gonna stop the cooking process so the orzo doesn't overcook. It has got a little bite to it at the moment, and that's perfect for what we want to go with our Mediterranean vegetable salad. So the orzo is all cooked, it's all cooled. What I like to do now is just put a little bit of oil in it, olive oil, just to stop it sticking together, and I'll season it a bit as well at this point. 15 minutes in the bottom of the oven and the veg is all cooked. Some of it does have a little bite because it's still quite hot, it's gonna keep cooking, so we're just gonna leave that on the side to cool down. The next thing we're gonna make is a chimichurri, and we're gonna put this through the orzo and the roasted vegetables and just gonna bring it all together. So we've got some parsley, one big bunch of parsley, half a bunch of coriander, a little bit of mint, the chili, lemon, rope-yard pepper, and a small red onion. I'm gonna grab it all in one big bunch. It's gonna make it a bit easier to cut. And this is all gonna be quite rough, so. Stop. That's the timer for the beef. So we're just going to pause this for 1 sec. So the beef has had 1 hour. So we're just going to test. For me, that feels about medium rare, possibly getting towards medium, but it's quite a big bit of meat, so I am just going to probe it to double check. And whenever you're probing something, you want to make sure you get right into the middle, because at the top it's going to be very hot, at the bottom it's going to be very hot, the middle is exactly where you want to be. At the moment, I don't know if it can see on there, it's probing at 44 degrees. And because it's still very hot, this is going to keep cooking. So I'm going to take it out now to rest. And as it rests, it's going to be like a muscle. So at the moment it's all contracted like this, and as it rests, it's just going to relax out, and all the juices are just going to go back to where they are. If I cut it now, it's going to be a bit dry and all the juices are just going to sort of leak out everywhere. So resting anything sort of steak-wise, even chicken-wise, does help in the long run in terms of like retaining moisture and flavour. But I think what I'll do, I'll get a bit of foil, put a bit of foil over it, just let it rest for about half an hour, and then we'll cut into it and have a look at what it's like. Haven't got any foil, so cling film it is. One thing I did forget was garlic. Red wine vinegar next. About 2 tablespoons. Olive oil. Similar again, about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Give it a mix around. And this is going to be really fresh, really zingy. It's just going to cut through all that pasta and just bring it together. And you can leave it to sit in the fridge as well. The longer it sort of sits, the more it sort of marinates, and the more the flavours sort of come together. Makes a wicked little condiment. You could put it on top of any kind of salad, any kind of steak. Sort of in South America, they serve this with steak. So perfect with those kind of things. So with the chimichurri, if it is a bit too acidic, just add a little bit more olive oil. That'll balance out the acidity. If it hasn't got enough sort of punch, just a bit more lemon juice or a bit more red wine vinegar, and that'll give it like the perfect sort of tang you need. And that's just gonna cut through the sort of the pasta and the richness. It's just gonna complement everything. And like I said, wicked on steaks. So give it a little time to like marinate and then adjust it as you go. Just give it a little try, see what it's like. Now the vegetables are all cooled down. We're gonna add the orzo and then we're gonna add the chimichurri. Just give it all a nice mix around. That on its own would just be tasty with a bit of chicken or a bit of beef, but we've got the chimichurri, that's gonna take it to the next level. So we're gonna add a little bit of that, a couple of tablespoons at a time, give it a taste. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of smoked paprika just for a bit of background depth. And then we'll put this on top, save it for later. That is what we, oh bloody hell. And that is what we end up with. Really tasty little orzo sort of salad. Yeah, I've done well. Chicken is done now, so let's have a look at that. Beautiful, golden, crispy skin. Perfectly cooked, but we'll just probe it just to be on the safe side. So you want the juices to run clear, or you want the chicken to be probed at sort of 75 and over. Yep, so we're there, perfectly cooked. We'll leave that on the side to rest and we'll cut it up later. We don't want to cut it too soon. Now that the chicken is done with giving it time to rest, it is time to portion it. Now there's no way of doing this without getting a little bit messy, so you're gonna have to get your hands in a little bit. We're just gonna break these bits. It should be able to bust apart. And you'll be able to get a nice leg, thigh and drumstick. But if you just listen, you should be able to pop it out. You see that bone there? That's what we want to cut around. So you should be able to get your knife, just cut straight through. Next bit, very similar with the wings, we can take them off. There's quite a bit of meat on them, but I'm just going to use them for the stock, so I'll put them in a pan. As tasty as the skin is, I'm not going to use it because it's extra calories. How delicious it is though. I'm going to try and avoid it. I'm going to put that in my stock pan. And then for the breast, I'm just going to cut straight down the middle. There's a bone just down there, so you can go down the side of it. You should be able to feel it. Just pull that apart. Very similar process if you want to do this raw, if you wanted to cook them separately. And with a nice chicken breast there, that's cooked. Do the same down that way. And then you should just be able to pull it off like that. Then on the bottom, we've got the oysters, which live in that little bit there. Pull them off, really delicious little tender bits of meat. Ooh. for the rest of it, it's a case of just getting your hands in and just shredding the rest of it off. So, as it sounds, got the two breasts, you've got your legs. We can cut them further. You can cut straight down here. There is another joint that you can cut straight through that one if you wanted to keep them separate. However, it's a bit delicate because we've cooked it. So yeah, that's your thigh, drumstick, oysters, shredded meat. Delicious. That's it. So between these two tubs, that's easily 4 meals, and that's cost me £5. That's $1.25 a portion, so that is super cheap. Chicken breasts, and then your shredded leg meat and sort of carcass meat in there. Lovely and delicious. What I've got in here is all of the chicken bones, chicken carcass. I'm gonna cover that with water, bring it up to a boil, and then just let it simmer for about an hour. And then we'll strain that, and that'll be our lovely chicken broth that we can use as a base for our chicken stir-fried noodles. So the roasted veg orzo is all ready to go, Tupperwared up, split between 4 portions. You can either put your chicken or your beef on here, some feta, halloumi, something like that would go lovely in it as well. So you can store those in the fridge. They'll last 3, 4, possibly 5 days, as long as they're kept nice and airtight in a cool environment. Super tasty, very healthy. Right, the beef has had a good rest. Let's cut it open and see if I've done a good job. Look at that. Shot straight down the middle. Yeah, pretty good, nice and pink. Still nice and juicy. I've worked out, I've got 7 170 gram portions here. That works out at £1.70-ish a portion, which is super cheap. What I'll probably do is cut half of it now for ease and wrap the other half up. It tends to last longer as one big lump sort of wrapped up in cling film, so that's what I'll do with that. As long as I get 7 portions out of it, that's my macros covered and protein, so I know exactly where I am. Beef tubbed up, ready to go. And then the other bit will just cling film, save that in the fridge. Like I said, it tends to last a bit longer as one lump. Whereas this I'm gonna eat in a couple of days, so that doesn't really matter. It's just a lot more air can get to that, whereas if it's one more lump it is sealed. So that's pretty much come up to a boil now. I had a bit of leftover beef juice, so I just poured that in there. Extra flavour. I'm going to turn that right down to a simmer and just let it do its thing for about an hour. Then we'll strain it and we'll get a lovely bone broth from that, which will be the perfect base for the noodles. And the next thing we're going to do is some quick pickled red onions. These will be delicious on the orzo, on the beef and sweet potato hash, pretty much anything. They just add a lovely level of sweet and sour acidity, and they take like 3 minutes to do. You need equal quantities of vinegar and sugar, so I'm going to do 150 mils of vinegar. And then we're going to bring that up to a boil. Whilst that's coming up, we're just going to peel and chop our onions. And then as that's boiling, pour it straight over. Stick a lid on it. And let it do its thing. The next thing we're going to make is a sweet potato hash with these bad boys. Sweet potatoes, funnily enough. Now they're peeled, just need to weigh them to see how many I've got so I can work out the portions. For me, I'm doing a 200 gram portion. 900 grams, so that's 4 portions with a little bit over, so. Next, what we want to do is just cube them. They don't need to be too neat, but roughly about the same size so they cook evenly. We'll leave them in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. We'll check them at 15 just to see how they are. They could take up to 20 minutes though, so we'll just let them do that thing. This is going to be the vegetable content in the hash. Once again, onions. I'm going to get them, peel them, slice them. The veg we've got here is only really enough for one, and I know I said I've got 4 lots of sweet potato in, but once the sweet potato are cooked, I'm going to use half now and save the other half later, because it will literally take 5 minutes to pan fry a hash if I need to, or even just putting that in a Tupperware tub and a bit of salad and a bit of steak, so it gives you options. But whilst the sweet potatoes are cooking, I'm just going to start frying with this veg. The sweet potatoes are still going to come out hot, and I'm just going to add it to that. It's going to speed up the process. Chicken stock on the stove. I'm just going to take a little bit of that and put that in the base of the hash. Just going to be building and layering more flavours. So that's 15 minutes for the sweet potato in the air fryer, and I reckon they're about perfect. See, that's got a nice squeeze. I think I'm just going to add a little bit of fajita seasoning to this, just to give it a little bit of kick, a little bit of spice. Just going to cook an egg on mine, so a little bit of fry light in the bottom. Crack an egg. Wheel down just a little bit of rocket now to go through it. And then we'll turn the heat off and let that do its thing. That's pretty much ready. Right, so I've just got a little 10-minute break from work, and I'll show you what I make as a little snack. It's basically 0% fat Greek yogurt, whey protein powder, and some frozen berries. Mix it together, add a little bit of water just to stop it getting too thick, and it's well tasty. So I'll just show you how I make it. Super simple, really nice little snack. Feels like you're eating ice cream, but super high in protein, low in fat, low in calories. Keeps you going, keeps the protein gains high. Need a mix of blueberries and raspberries. Give it a mix around because the protein powder does thicken up. And this is what you end up with. For me, it's like a cheat ice cream with yogurt, protein powder, and some berries. Really delicious. Reminds me a bit of like Angel Delight. Frozen Angel Delight we'll go with. Banging.
Dexterous man. But then if I guessed on a show, then that one goes back to still me. Okay, so
Lunchtime. We're gonna make something really quick and really simple, just a Nando style chicken wrap. Firstly, you need a bit of Nando sauce, peri, wholemeal wrap, some Eat Lean cheese. I'm only using this because I'm on a cut. It's super low in fat, really high in protein. Otherwise, I'll just use a bit of halloumi. Romaine lettuce, chicken we pulled and shredded the other day, quick pickled onions, a little bit of yogurt to bind it all together. What I'm going to do is stick mine in the air fryer, get it nice and crispy, a bit like a burrito or enchilada, that kind of thing. But if you just want to make a wrap and stick a wrap in your lunchbox, still tasty. Alright, gonna start off by weighing the chicken so we know what we're eating. Alright, we're gonna start off by weighing the chicken. That way we know exactly how much protein we've got and what we're working with. So I'm gonna go for 150 grams of this cooked chicken, which actually looks like quite a lot now. Get the peri, mix that in there.
Bit of yogurt. That's gonna act like sour cream. Bring it all together. Delicious. Some of the pickled onions. These are really tasty, sweet and sour. Lovely. Now this is the hard bit that I always struggle with. That's it. Just gonna give it a little flipperoo. Yeah, we're getting there, Actually, I'm just gonna leave it on that side. Structural integrity is failing. Hot. Very hot. Yeah. Yep. Banging. Something simple, something tasty. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Oh yeah, that is hot.
I wasn't sure at what point this video would turn into a mukbang video. And tonight's dinner, we're gonna do an Asian chicken noodle broth using the bone broth we made from the chicken bones the other day. So yeah, that's got a lovely set. It's gonna be really nice. Really gonna take the chicken noodle broth to the next level.
Get a little bit of oil. 1 medium onion. Mushrooms. Chili. Turn it up to a medium-high heat.
Whilst we're throwing down the mushrooms, chili and onion, bring a little pan of water up to the boil and we're just gonna soft boil an egg. Once you've got a rolling boil, pop in an egg and just set a 6-minute timer. And then with this one, we're just gonna get a little bit of sesame seed oil, put a little bit of that in. Add the garlic next. Add a little bit of soy sauce.
That is what it looks like at the moment.
I've got baby corn, courgettes, pak choy, and some broccoli. Whenever you make sort of like a chicken stock or a bone broth, you normally get some fat on top. Because it's set, you just skim that, put that to one side. Loads of flavour in there.
Couple of ladles of the chicken stock, and then we're just going to reduce that down to a bit of a simmer.
Right, I'm going to cheat a bit today. I've got some wok ready noodles. You can just cook your own noodles. They do take 5 minutes, but I tend to have sort of 3 or 4 packets of these around, as well as microwave rice, just quick and easy when I'm in a pinch. So,
and then next we're just going to cube up some of the chicken breasts that we had from the other day. I'll pop that in there.
and just let that all warm up together.
And then we just need a bit of acidity just to balance out the rich flavors. So I'm just going to grate a little bit of zest of lime. Just a squeeze. And then I'm just going to take that off the heat. So I think we're about there. Some of the coriander I chopped up earlier. Some of the spring onions. Just let those aromatics sort of go through it. And then we're just going to dish it up, pop the soft boiled egg on, and then we're pretty much ready to go. Oh yeah. Banger. Now with a bit of the leftover beef, we're just going to do like a stuffed focaccia sandwich. 200 calories in one of these. 4% fat Greek yogurt. Our friend once again. Gonna get a bit of that sweet potato we cooked the other day. Spread that on it. Okay, way too many mushrooms. And then we're just gonna pop that whole thing. And then whilst that's cooking, we're gonna make a little bit of slaw. So red cabbage, spring onions, a little bit of romaine lettuce, if you've got any leftover lime, give that a squeeze. Apple cider vinegar. A couple of tablespoons of yogurt. A little bit of light mayonnaise. Ooh, and there we have it. A bit of slaw.
The next recipe is a great post-workout breakfast, or just breakfast in itself, and it starts off with the humble oats. And it's got over 60 grams of protein per portion, and it's super simple. You get loads of fiber from the oats, long-lasting carbohydrates, it's going to keep you full for longer, and it's just going to give you one massive protein hit. And I've got a really simple method for making it. What I've got with mine is 100 grams of raspberries for extra antioxidants, and a little bit of sugar. So let's see how I do it. So we start off with 100 grams of oats. Two scoops of protein. I'm using a casein vanilla protein here. The casein protein adds an extra sort of creaminess to it. And then we're just going to get 200 mils of boiling water, pour that over it and let it sit for a couple of minutes. Just giving it a little stir. Easiest way I found to do oats. And they say nice and creamy, really tasty. We're going to let it just cook up for a bit on its own. And then I'm literally just going to put 100 grams of frozen raspberries on it, mix it through, and that's pretty much it. Really tasty. Wicked. Then I give that a little mix around. Ends up like a raspberry sort of ripple oat effect. The frozen raspberries will cool it down so it's nice and temperate for you to eat. And there we have it, protein oats with frozen raspberries. Delicious. And the last recipe we're going to do chicken, vegetable and rice stir fry using some sort of leftover bits in the fridge, some of the chicken stock and the chicken we cooked earlier. And then I've got some onions, ginger and garlic that we're just going to chuck in. We're going to turn down the heat a little bit, add some of that chicken stock from the other day. Once that's reduced a bit, we're going to add a little bit of honey, white wine vinegar and soy sauce. So we've got sweetness, umami and acidity there. And we're going to chuck in the chicken and the veg. So I've got some broccoli, some pak choy and some Chinese leaf. Then add 125 grams of cooked rice. You could use brown rice, basmati rice, doesn't really matter. I'm just using brown rice. Then I'll save the other half of the pack for another meal. Coriander, some of those pickled red onions we had from earlier. I'm just going to let that simmer for another 2 or 3 minutes. This bit is optional. I'm just going to cook that out. And the remaining bit of liquid. Then just fold that through the rest of it. And then that is the creation. It's like a stir fry rice bowl. It's pickled onions, chicken, and some veggies. You can get a bit creative, it doesn't really matter what kind of veg you've got, just use whatever is in your fridge. So yeah. It was pretty tasty, got all the macros, nice and healthy, low calorie.